I know I'm a millennial, but I'm not the greatest when it comes to technology
I'm an old
at the
dude.
moment.
So
I'm
this is super.
I'm getting into it.
Yeah, this is super new. I can't even see the comments. You can see the comments?
Yeah, I can at the bottom. She said, "There you go." Okay, thank you,
Okay,
Michelle. Thank you for helping us out.
all right,
All
cool.
right.
All right, so we'll get all that figured out. Um, so you're north of Cincinnati?
So yeah, so I know you wanted to or we discussed a little bit that we wanted to get into quantum physics,
Yep,
maybe just the quantum realm in general.
yep,
Uh, I heard you talking a little bit about your weight loss,
yep.
and some weight loss stuff, so we could probably talk about that. How fitting that I have my Live Fit tank on right now.
There you
And
go.
so yeah, let's jump into that. What were you mentioning about the weight loss? Was it a mind shift switch for you? Did you start to learn about realm and learn about epigenetics and then start, or is it like, tell us your journey with that?
Yes, I mean, trying to. I can't. Okay, maybe that's better. Okay, so yeah, like so. I've always kind of been, interested in health and fitness and all that kind of stuff, and um, nonetheless, I don't know, you just live life and you get old. I'm a lot older than you, so you just live life and you get old and you, get unhealthy and whatever it is, So people are, I feel like, hang on a second. Okay, so I feel like people are always trying to lose weight, and so I was kind of like in that category, but it kind of started for me a few years. So this is the way I got into the quantum, theory, the quantum realm, and all that kind of stuff. Is I picked up a book um, a couple of years ago, just that talked about visualization, for weight loss or whatever, rather than just
Mm-hmm.
the whole calorie thing and all that, So anyway, that's how I kind of started getting into the idea of quantum physics and started kind of digging into it. So like a lot of people have asked me, and I did like, it wasn't overnight or whatever, it was a little while, but I've dropped about 40 pounds, so it's, it's
Let's go,
yeah, I mean,
bro.
but for me, it's, even though that was like kind of a big deal, it wasn't really about just the losing weight for me, right? Because it was about just changing my whole life, right? Just like wanting to be the best person I could be and just the best version of myself. And then I started like hearing about this like quantum field and quantum physics and like, you know, changing things, you know, from the inside out instead of the outside in, right? So, and we normally try and change matter with matter, right? Like, if you
Right.
ask somebody how to lose weight or whatever, or how to gain weight, I was a bodybuilder a million years ago, probably before you were alive, right? so, so back then I wanted to gain weight, and then you get old and you want to lose the weight, But
Be careful what you
be
wish for.
careful what you wish for, man. I spent a bunch of years trying to gain weight, and then I did. Now, then you flip the script and try and lose the weight.
It's funny you say that, because I've been saying, like, because a lot of people don't know that being very skinny, we get a lot of negative comments and a lot of negativity
Yep.
towards us as well. Like, it's not just like people are only out there bashing bigger people. It's not exactly, doesn't feel the greatest to get called scrawny all the time and shit like that.
Right,
So
right.
I've been wanting to add that weight for a long time. I know now that I'm type 1 diabetic,
Yep.
so it is a little tougher. But I still, now that I'm on the epigenetics and the quantum journey,
Yep.
and I'm holistically healing my diabetes, I know that I'm not going to have it at some point. And then here comes, like, I'm ready for that karma, and I'm ready for those spells to come true.
Right, right, right.
So
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. And we kind of got hooked up a little while ago. Like, I guess there's some Marshall stuff, right? And
right,
we just kind of started chatting a little bit about, and we stumbled on the idea of epigenetics and the quantum realm and whatnot. And just to me, so even though, like, for me, whether it's wanting to gain weight, you want to put weight on in the gym, get big, or if you want to lose, whatever it is, right? The idea of changing your body, to me, or just changing what you are, is just become fascinating to me, right? And so I'm fascinated by the fact that so much of what we do every day, just we do it because it's a habit, right? Like
right.
like we
Straight
just
subconscious.
just straight subconscious stuff, right? Like, I don't know if you can drive a standard or
That's what my car is. Yeah.
okay, so at one point you first jumped in the standard and you had to think about like, I gotta push the clutch, and then I gotta, let the clutch out and give it some
Right.
gas.
How much gas do I have to give
Right.
it? Yeah.
And then you jerk around back and forth and the car dies, right? When you first learn how to do it, eventually you just jump in, you just drive, right? Because you learn it and it becomes habit and it's something you don't have to think about anymore, right?
Yep.
And so our mind really tries to, systemize everything that we do every day, right? We kind of wake up at the same time, we go to bed at the same time, we tend to eat the same kind of foods, or do the same type of, if you get off of work and you pick up the remote and turn the TV on, which I haven't done in years because I haven't had TV in probably 2 years or at least, or something like that.
Same.
But the idea is the same, right? You come in from work, you pick up the remote, you turn on the TV. It's just a habit, right? It's not like, oh, I think I'm gonna watch TV. It's just what you do, right? And so at least 70%, I wouldn't make up a number, but I mean, at least 70% of what we do every day is really just, it's a habit, right? So I stumbled.
They actually, I know, I don't know if you have how much of Bruce Lipton's stuff you've soaked in, but he says 95% of what we do
Whoa.
is out of the subconscious.
Dang. All right, I'll take.
So that only 5% of the day are you actually like getting out of the program. So and once I learned that, I started to be very conscious, so to speak, of like what I'm making sure, like how much time, like, oh shit, okay, this is a daily habit, like let me shift it this way and adjust it. And you can I mean, I don't know about you, but from my personal experience, things can happen very quickly.
Yep.
Especially when you're doing other things like biohacking. I know we talked about life hacks,
Yep.
but biohacking, which I learned from Marshall, and stuff like that. When you layer biohacking with learning about epigenetics, with learning about the quantum realm and how energy works and the law of vibration,
Yep.
which for those of you that don't haven't learned yet, or I call it remembering now, from some of the stuff that I learned with the quantum realm, how we technically we have all the DNA, all of the information of the universe stored in our DNA,
Yep.
allegedly.
Right.
I align with that when I learn that, and so now from what I understand, it's us remembering what we already know, not learning new information technically.
Yep.
So the more I remember, dang, it's weird kind of saying that, and now I got off on a little tangent and forgot. Do you ever do that? Me and Marshall talk about this on the show. Do you ever start to go on a little rant?
Yeah.
You sidetrack for 1 second and then bam, you lose the whole thought.
Heck
but
yeah, man.
nonetheless,
Yeah.
I know you know. Let's get into epigenetics a little bit.
Yep.
For those that are like, what the hell is epigenetics? So I discovered epigenetics from Bruce Lipton, and I learned that he was like the pioneer, like 30 years ago, I believe it was, when he was the one that stood up and was like, oh, wait a minute, this whole genetics thing that we're spending all of our time studying isn't what we should be focusing on. And he discovered that basically, essentially, what I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, he did a experiment with a cell, and he split the cell so that it was the exact same DNA makeup, or however you would put that, and then he altered the environment of all three of them to see how it would affect them. And essentially, he discovered that cells form or are manipulated by their environment. And since we are just made up of 50 to 70 trillion cells, that essentially it's not genetics, it's not like by chance that you end up with disease. Now, he does say about 10% of diseases, like, just weird shit, glitches in the matrix, so to speak, shit happens. But 90% of diseases that are out there are essentially only from the environment and the foods we eat, so to things like that. But essentially, that's what I came across. Is there anything that I didn't touch on that comes to the top of your head?
No, I'm totally with you. My numbers are a little bit off, but real similar. So like, to me, habits, I was thinking were more like 75, 80%. You're saying 95. I'm with you on that. I think it's, habits are huge, right? As far as epigenetics goes, I grew up mostly in the 80s, right? So, I mean, back then they talked about, all the time, like, family history, right? I mean, I heard tons about, I got a lot of, obesity or diabetes or high blood pressure, all that kind of stuff. It was like cancer in my family history, right? And so I heard all the time about, you got to watch out because this and this and this, you got to get screened for it and all that. Because back then, the predominant idea, I think, was that your family history was so important in terms of what do your genes say about who you are, and that's how, that's
Yeah,
that.
which is what they thought
Sure.
really up
Right.
until the epigenetics. Yeah, and honestly, I mean, from some of the information I have researched and come across and align with, simply it's a controlled narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, knowing what we know about thoughts become
Yep.
things, if they get you thinking about a family history of
Mm-hmm.
disease, obviously you're going to
Yep.
manifest disease. So, I
Where
mean,
your attention goes, your energy flows, brother.
bro, exact. I just said that the other day. That's 100% correct. Like that, and it's. I mean, that's shitty to say, so to speak. Pardon my language. That that could be a narrative
Mm-hmm.
that it is controlled to make us
So what?
think that
So
way.
what did we decide this morning on Marshall show? So I am here live with the co-host of the Marshall Jellin show, right?
Thank you. Thank
so
you so
so
much. Yes, let's not forget about
let's not
that.
forget
So,
about.
word on the street is that's a big
It's
deal.
a big deal, man. It's
Big
it's the
deal,
it's
big
it's the
operations.
hottest show going right now. It's the hottest morning show going
Yeah,
right now. But
100%.
I had to jump off
100%.
for a minute. Did y'all decide if you could say fuck on live or what? Would you?
What we came across after talking with the niece is that we pretty much just have to, or it's up to the audience. Like be
Mm-hmm.
not up to the audience. It's be aware of what your audience
Got it.
is to determine if it's going to be if you're going to swear or not. We said multiple times. Apparently, it's not going to be a kid show because we kept swearing. So we'll see. Maybe we'll have special shows where it's kid friendly
hashtag not a kid
and
show.
parents know. Yeah, hashtag. I saw that. That was funny as hell.
So all right, so I jumped off on the tangent, but so epigenetics, right? I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about. And so the predominant understanding was you're almost doomed, right? Like let's look at your family history, and you're just doomed if you got all this stuff, right?
Pretty
But
much, yeah.
but the great news is that epigenetics actually explains to us, I mean, in layman's terms, that it's the old nature versus nurture debate. And
Wow, yeah.
epigenetics basically argues, hey, it's nurture. It's not so much nature. It doesn't matter that much what your genes say. It matters a little bit. Like you said, I think maybe 90%, maybe there's a glitch in the matrix or something like that. But in general, nurture is what's going to cause your genes to express themselves in one way or the other, right?
Right, because our bodies are so much more powerful than people will stop and admit
Yep.
almost. It's like if you really, I mean, especially once you get down this rabbit hole, so to speak, and I mean, like I got a guy on my friends list here on Facebook. His name is Max, and I'm actually going to be working with him a little bit. But it's like when you come across people in this, especially spirituality world, and
Mm-hmm.
you realize like there are actual like
Yep.
angels on this earth,
Yep. 100%.
and especially if you believe in the demon side of things and the satanic side, like if you believe in that, you obviously understand that there's a spiritual
Yep.
world, and it's very likely that there's angels and
Uh-huh.
demons right among us.
100%.
So
I was having this conversation last night with my boy Carl Stockman, who might see this, I don't know. But we're talking about this exact thing last night, right? And we were talking, it's so interesting because, we're talking about the quantum field. And have you read Joe Dispenza's books, so like Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself or anything like that?
I have not read Joe Dispenza's books, but I've seen a bunch of his stuff on YouTube, and I'm a monthly subscriber to Gaia,
Okay.
which he's like all over Gaia. I think he might have been actually one of the founders. I'm not sure, but I'm very familiar with.
You sound like an alien there.
what
Your
he's got
screen's
going
frozen on your side. Hang on. I
Oh
don't know if
snap!
can you hear me? You're kind of
Yeah,
frozen.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you,
Uh-oh.
man. You there?
Okay. You're,
All right, all right. I
you're,
think you're moving
you
around again.
are we good?
I think we're good. Very good. Just a little
There we
glitch.
go.
Just a little
Okay.
glitch in the matrix. That's all.
Yeah, they're listening, damn it.
We got to be careful. We don't speak too much truth. They'll shut us down or something. You know.
Oh, that's funny.
Um,
Censorship at its finest.
censorship at its finest, for sure. All right. So epigenetics, right? And it's the nature versus nurture. And so it's the idea that what we do, 80-90% of what we do causes our genes to express themselves in one way or the other, right? As
Correct.
opposed to just being a victim of our genetics, right?
Yes. That's a great way to put it because that's actually, I mean, since I was diagnosed, I have been telling myself
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know, like I'm not accepting being
Right,
a type 1 diabetic for the rest of my life.
right.
What? And then but then I also thought about it and like damn, with as much technology we have in diabetes especially, I'll just speak on this because that's what I have the most experience with, clearly, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
diabetic. um, like it's not like cancer where they say there's no routine cancer. Like diabetes, what else is there to know?
Right.
I mean, like they know it all.
Mm-hmm.
Like the pancreas doesn't produce insulin. Like they there it's not a complicated
Sure.
really
Right.
disease in
Right.
my opinion.
Right.
So to me, I'm thinking like one, there should already be a cure.
Mm-hmm.
um, and two, I've read a little bit about like they have bionic pancreases, but there was like you have to take a bunch of medication with that, so it's like that's kind of like a trade-off of diseases in my opinion.
Right.
um, but still, I believe there's still going to be a cure within like the next 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had that mindset also, so I've between both those mindsets I've just been like trying to put diabetes in my rear view the whole
Sure. For
time.
sure.
But then I came across this holistic side of things and learning about like I went mostly plant based starting in right a little bit before January,
Okay.
and up until I didn't eat meat until about like 6 weeks ago. I broke like completely plant based
Mm-hmm.
and vegan. I kept messing up on the vegan thing because that was a new world for me,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like different products you're not supposed to eat,
Yeah.
and mine was I was doing it for 100% holistic
Right. Right. For sure. Yeah.
reasons
Yeah.
at
Yeah,
the
for sure.
time. But then I learned, but learning about like just souls of animals and things like that, that kind of has kept me towards the plant-based side. Now I have broken that. I broke that a couple weeks ago around my birthday. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
I completely broke my diet, right?
Yeah.
And for the last like 2 weeks, I went back to like basically just eating whatever again. But yesterday, I committed back and going back towards the plant-based thing because there's cycles, and I'm not going to judge myself, and
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about this before on the show, I believe, and when you were on watching, it's like you can't judge yourself for that. There's different seasons. Just keep going. Like I at the time, like that's just what happened,
Yeah. Yeah.
and now and it's like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my foods that
Mm-hmm.
because I used to just love food,
Right.
bro. Like
Right. Right.
I'm a foodie.
Yeah. I hear you, man.
And but now I'm just getting back more towards it. You just have to have the discipline to stay back to it, and I'm getting back to my OMAD diet, 1 meal a day,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is technically 1 hour. If for those listening, like one
Yeah.
meal, like
Yeah.
no, you get an hour to eat.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, bro. I don't know what that tangent came about, but I
Well,
digress.
no, I want to come back to that in a minute, but like the whole one meal a day kind of thing, right? I've been doing that for a long time, and then all of a sudden they put a name to it, right? They called it intermittent fasting. I'm like, oh, there's a name for it. All right, cool. I'm not just weird because I don't like to eat breakfast,
Hell no.
So I get it. I do want to talk more about vegan because I've been vegan. My daughter's vegan. I've tried it. I want to come back and talk about that. It's interesting talking about the souls of animals and things. But I do remember what we were talking about before the Matrix glitched on us, and I want to go back to that for a minute. I was
Okay.
talking about my boy Carl Stockman last night. We're hanging out.
Oh
We're
right.
talking about we're talking a lot about like religion and spirituality and and all that and about the spiritual realm. We're talking about angels and demons and all that kind of stuff, right? But I think, and I really think that when we're talking about the quantum realm, we're talking about like getting into the quantum realm. A lot of times, I mean, the way that you tap into, the quantum field is through meditation, right? Like you forget the familiar past and the expected future, and you focus on the the present, right?
Present
And the
moment.
more
Yeah.
that you bring your energy into the present, you enter into that quantum field. And when you're in that quantum field, that's where you're able to make real changes, right? So I lost weight, and some people have asked, like, well, what would you do? Like, did you go vegan, or did you, do this diet or that diet? It wasn't about a particular diet for me necessarily. It was about changing myself from on the inside out, if that makes sense, right?
100%. Yes, that 100% makes
Right?
sense. Yes.
Because I mean, it's not really rocket science. People, stop eating Oreos, don't eat Oreos, eat carrots instead, right? I mean, there's things you don't eat, and there's things you eat, and you exercise and sleep. Weight loss is pretty simple. Why aren't more people doing it? Why is weight loss $1 billion industry, right? Or however many billions
Right.
people spend on weight
Yeah.
loss or whatever, trying to gain
Yeah.
weight or lose weight, right?
Because honestly, bro, like what I've noticed, like there are so many different diets and routines and what have you that I mean you could get so many different perspectives and so many different things
Yep.
work. Well, in the quantum world, we know all realities are
All
possible and
realize
happening
possible. Yep.
simultaneously. So it's like, I mean, like, okay, what were we just talking about right before
Yeah,
that?
so for me, it wasn't about whatever the diet was, or right, like, so there's
Right,
bazillions of books
exactly.
saying, do this, do
It all
that, right? It
works.
all works, but
Like,
for me, but to me, so Joe Dispenza talks about trying to change matter with matter, right, as opposed to going
mm-hmm.
into the quantum and changing it within the quantum realm. So if there's one, and this is difficult to explain to someone who doesn't know about quantum physics, right? I can tell you and you get it, right? Because we're into it and we've been studying it, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah. To others, it's like, what the hell are you
yeah,
talking
it's
about? But that's how I used to be
right,
about it.
right.
But until you go down and just watch which anybody watching that's wondering, just start YouTubing
Yeah,
about quantum physics and
it's
epigenetics and Bruce Lipton and Dr. Joe Dispenza
it's
especially because it's just mind
yeah,
blowing.
it sounds so hocus pocusy, right? But for me, it wasn't really until I understood that I had to change myself from the inside out. And once I did that and figured out that I could do that, that it was not about, nothing against, run of the mill, not run of the mill, but just mainstream fitness people, right? I mean, Marshall used to be a trainer, right? I got great friends who are
Hmm.
trainers, um,
Same.
things like that. And I'm all with conventional wisdom and conventional knowledge, right? Calories in, calories out,
Well, I
exercise.
think there's levels also. So at some point, like that, having a trainer and getting into that kind of world, like at some point that might be what the journey needs. So I think there is there there's a purpose and a need for all these trainers
Yeah, yeah,
still.
yeah, yeah.
But at some point, yeah, it's at some point you just start to realize I mean, essentially it comes down to mind over
Yep,
matter.
yeah.
I mean that's about as simple as you could put
Yeah,
it.
yeah, totally agree. Mind over matter, right? And so, like I was saying, what we tend to try and do is change matter with matter, right? So if I want to lose weight, I reduce calories, I eat less calories, and I burn more calories, and that's the equation to lose weight, right? Or you want to gain weight, you
Hmm.
lift weights and you eat more calories than what you burn, right? If you're trying to put on weight, right? That's
Yeah,
changing
right.
matter with matter. But what I did, and I've done all those things, right? I've tried all that stuff, and you know what? It worked a little, but didn't work a whole lot. And so all of a sudden, I figure out that if I can change myself from the inside out, changing my thoughts, changing my habits, changing myself, because we know that when we tap into the quantum field, all possibilities exist, right? So being in perfect health, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally, in all these different ways. And I'm
Hmm.
working on all those different things simultaneously, right? So for me, it's not like I want to just do X in my life or achieve this weight or achieve this goal or make this much money, right? But it's just getting on this path of figuring out what's the best expression of Jake Perez. What's that look like,
Right.
right?
And I'm literally in that same. That's exactly why we connected at this point in
Yeah,
time because that's exactly where I'm at. I'm working on all of it simultaneously. Um, I take what Marshall says. He says, "How you do one thing is how you do
yeah,
everything." To heart, and I'm like, "Oh shit, you're right. Like that's right."
yeah,
Like, so it's like I have to be on the. If you're 100% on three things, but 25% on two things, like you're gonna be 25% on
yeah.
everything. So, Yeah, that's just it. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, water finds its level, right? And we're kind of like as strong as the weakest link within our own lives, right? And it all ties together, and that's why, for me, even though like a lot of people are like, "Damn, dude, you lost a lot of weight, cool." I'm like, "Yeah, that's that." I didn't really mean for it to be like, "Here's this big weight loss thing." It wasn't really like that. It was like, "Yes, I dropped 40 pounds. Yes, I feel better, cool." But it wasn't about that. It's about I'm learning how to change my life by from the inside out, which is totally a different thing, right?
Like not even leaving your house, basically.
Right. Totally different thing. And there's all these studies, right, where they're studying quantum physics. And I know Joe Dispenza's done these studies where, they'll take different groups and they'll have them imagine that they're working out, like lifting weights,
Yeah,
right?
I've heard about
Right.
this. Yep.
And so, and some of them they'll imagine they're working out moderately. In one group doesn't work out at all. The other group imagines they're working out moderately. The other group imagines they're working out vigorously, right? And all they're doing is imagining. They're just doing it in their minds, right? And they're seeing results, like measurable results, just doing it in their minds, man. It's crazy. Like
That
thoughts are
it's
things, dude.
literally, and I don't know if you've ever experienced like out of body yet, but bro, when there was a mass meditation at the end of March, and I participated in it, and I had my feet and my hands grounded,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that helped amplify it. But bro, it's like I really genuinely believe and feel into like the spiritual
Yep.
realm, like the possibility that, like, well, it's not the possibility, it's like we know that like we're just meat suits
Yep.
and like made up of cells, and if you take a cell down to its purest form in the microscope, like you can look right through it, and everything just, I just align with all
Yeah,
that. So
man.
it's like, bro, when he talks about that, and how Marshall talked about it today on the show, about Joe Dispenza visualizing curing his back,
Yep.
like from being
Right.
paralyzed, essentially.
Right.
It's like this shit's like, it's 100% real and happening to me. So that's why I ended up diving down. And honestly, dude, when I got to, what I learned it as, I forget what the chart's called, but they got the chart of vibrational, damn, help me out here. Like it talks about how like fear and anger and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
vibrates at
Yep,
200, and
yep,
gratitude's at
yep. Right.
700, and Christ
Yep,
consciousness is 1,000.
yep.
Um, but then, so they basically, I learned that everybody's essentially chasing Christ consciousness. Like they want to get to that level to where
Right.
they are Jesus like
Right.
very giving, like humanitarian, and that's essentially what the goal
Right.
is. Well, then you learn about, I don't know if you've ever learned about alchemy
Mm-hmm. Sure.
or space
So,
consciousness, so to
yeah. So
speak. So now
Marshall's.
I just,
Yeah. So Marshall. I've heard him talk about it, but about spiritual alchemy, right?
yeah, I don't know if I haven't heard of, it's most likely the same thing, because alchemy, I just watched a video earlier
Mm-hmm.
actually about alchemy broken down as like the art of Egypt is what it means, or something like
Mm-hmm.
this, talking about where the origin is in
Okay.
Egypt. Hy- Allegedly, I mean, it is what it is. I personally believe something is going on with the pyramids. I've been obsessed with it for a little bit, if you want to call it an obsession, and learning about Nikola
Yeah,
Tesla
yeah, yeah.
and
Dude, that dude's
all that,
crazy interesting, man.
bro. Super. Hey, speaking of Marshall, look who just hopped on.
Is
Let's go to the comments real
I
quick.
can't see the comments, man.
Oh, I'll take care of it
Oh
for
wait,
you.
wait, wait. Oh wait,
Marshall
Marshall's
said, "I love
watching.
you too."
What's
Thank you,
up,
bro. We
Marsh?
love you too.
All right, I finally got
We were
one.
just talking about you. Um, hey, Lindsay, what's up? She calls me Pops. That's funny. That's a story for a different day. I forget where that started, but it's funny. And then Michelle's still on with us. But man, I got
Gillen
excited
gang in the house, bro.
that our Gillen gang hopped on.
All
Yeah,
right.
I got excited. I forgot what we were talking about. Help me out.
You're
What were
talking
we
about the
just
pyramids,
oh,
man.
about the alchemy thing,
Yeah.
bro. Yeah, and the pyramids. So I learned, apparently, there's people out there that believe Christ consciousness is just like the very, very base level for digging down. And I just came
Yeah.
across it, watch much on
Hmm.
it, but I align with the little bit of stuff I've already watched, and it basically just talks more about like the magic side of life, and like how like you can that's what I mean by like there's angels and demons out there,
Right.
because people are learning this,
Right.
and it's like we're not just the stuff you can see and feel like that. Yeah, there's enemies out there, but like it's deeper than that.
Yeah.
Like there are entities that you need, and it goes back generations. You hold emotions and suppressed traumas from previous generations, because you and I both know, and I know the Gillen gang knows, that we're in a
Yep.
vortex. So time's not linear. You would look at it vertically. So that's
Right.
how the past, the present, and the future can happen at the same
Yep.
time, and how you can jump into different realities. And it's interesting you brought up the present moment earlier, because so about 2 weeks ago, I just had a realization. I was sitting there and I was like, holy shit. The only thing that truly exists technically would be the present moment. But from what I know about the spiritual world and the quantum world and the phenomena of the world, um, imagination of the future and the memory of past moments are the only other two things that could possibly exist. And this is my reality
Right.
right now. This is from my experience. So I have the present moment, and I can jump into um, different realities from using memories from the past to help me analyze quickly, to make a decision in the present moment to alter my future realities, is how I view it. And that's just, I mean, that's essentially as
That
basic as I can
that's
get with it.
such a great explanation of how I believe we can change our lives and transform our lives, right? I've even read about and thought about this a lot, but just the idea that because we were in that vortex, right? That we can go into the past or the future, right? And actually almost get help or advice from a future version of ourselves to use in the now.
That's 100% what it
Isn't that
is, in
crazy?
my opinion. Yes, that is exactly what it is. And that's why I believe like we're technically all time travelers, if you want to call it
Yeah,
that. Like I mean, that is what it is to me.
yeah.
And I know that on some of these videos and people I've learned from, they say like not everybody will experience
Hmm.
that. Or so I guess it's not everybody gets to, but at the same time, from what I understand from the one creator, the cosmos, the universe, God, that every human being, he said, Marshall says
Time
hashtag
traveling.
time traveling, every human being has the capability to get to that point, doing that work, practicing the meditation. And because I know some people get to the point where they feel like they don't need meditation
Right.
anymore, but I feel like meditation and yoga is definitely on this journey at some point,
Hmm.
to start living in that present moment, and practicing being present, which I know that I do juggling
Hmm.
to help me with that, because what I've learned, juggling is one of the best forms of meditation for me, personally. Just because, what do you say? He
He-
says, sometimes I take so many vitamins, I do a little time traveling myself.
That's awesome. It's some
That's what's
alien
up.
shit right
That's
there.
funny. Yeah. um, damn. Okay. What was I going? What was I saying?
I
Mm,
just think just talking about tapping into um, the space-time continuum and like breaching the walls that we tend to think of as the past or the future. It's all the present.
mm,
We always experience everything in the present, but we can draw from other expressions of ourself or other versions of ourself in different points in time, right? And we're talking
right.
about the importance of meditation in terms of learning to stay present. And Dispenza talks a lot about when we wake up in the morning and we think about all the things we have to do during the day, or we think about the thing that happened yesterday that was either bad or good, whatever it is, that we're losing our energy, right? And
Mm,
the way that we create the reality that we want is that we stay present so that um, we can keep all of our energy in the present so that we can have all of that creative energy, right? And I think Marshall was talking about this recently, today or yesterday or something like that, about the idea um, that you have to be careful what you give your attention to, right? There's so many things that we can give our attention to, right? And so to me, like a big thing that I teach you, and when I'm talking with people or trying to help people is one, you got to figure out what your values are, right? That's number one. You got to know what you value in life, right? And then almost everything outside of what your core values are, you got to like slash it and get rid of it, man. You know, like for me, I got rid of TV like 2 years ago. I just had no reason to, listen to. They call it TV programming for a reason, right? You sit there
Yeah,
and you
100%. Yep.
zone into it, and you go. So we got Dillinger is talking about time travel, meditation. Joe Dispenza, yes, yeah, that's what we're talking about. Staying in the present moment, tapping into the quantum field.
And he put a question mark after time travel.
Yep.
I don't know if he was asking like what do we mean by time travel? I don't. So personally, I think time is an illusion. It's just like a construct of this 3D reality that we are currently in the future. Once we're fully in 5D and go into the other dimensions, time doesn't exist anymore because it's really just a structure right now, and a date of events. So basically, since I believe that the only thing that truly exists is the present moment, and then you have your imagination and your memories. That would mean that's how you would time travel, by focusing and visualizing and going into your memory bank, so to speak, of those events. And one thing I wanted to touch on, and that's kind of powerful, that kind of helped me, was realizing that like right now, this is a memory of Jake and Kyle a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now. Like, hey, you remember that first time me and you hopped on a live? Like, this is every present moment is a memory of your future self. So that's how you can begin to alter your future. And that's how your future self is helping, because like, to me, I don't believe your thoughts are yours. Like, those are quote unquote downloads, or like entities beaming like thoughts into your head, and then you use past experiences and your memory to determine what you're going to do in that present moment. Like, and since we're in a vortex, you constantly get the same. Like, for me, for instance, I had 3 relationships in my 20s so far. 3 like longer term relationships. And if I look back, all 3 of the relationships were the exact same.
Dude.
Same type of woman. I acted the same. Like, everything was the same. It was my chance in the vortex to use my memory, use my past experiences to alter my future. And at the time, I just wasn't. I didn't do enough work to where I could alter it. Now I started to see it. Like, the last relationship I was in, I saw all the red flags. I saw that I was like depressed and needed to change, and I cut the relationship off like half the time that I let the other 2 relationships go. So it's like, that's how you learn in time travel and save time. And I hope that helps in the explanation. Like I said, please like research some YouTubers that I don't know any specifically talking about time travel, but there are a lot of great videos that you can search on YouTube that can explain it way better than I can.
Dude, I'm totally with you. And as you're talking about your relationships in your 20s, like, I'm older. I've had been married a couple times, had a few relationships and whatnot. And what I'm seeing is, the movie Groundhog Day? That's
no.
okay. It probably happened before you were born, I guess. But the movie Groundhog Day, basically, the guy just wakes up every day and he's just repeating his life over and over and over, and he's just stuck, right? And he can't get out. It's just the same damn thing over and over and over, right? And that's kind of what you're saying. Like, in life, I'm finding myself repeating the same thing in relationships. Whether it's the woman or it's me, I'm finding the same patterns, right? It's the same thing over and over and over. It's like a broken record going over and over and over.
Like your subconscious programming.
Yeah, it's like subconscious programming. And it's like, when am I going to learn from the familiar past or the anticipated future? When am I going to apply it into the now? Going from the mistakes I know I've already made, when am I gonna start changing, how I express myself in a relationship or whatever it is, right? But I so relate to what you're talking about, man, because I just see it repeating over and over and over, you know?
Bro, that's why it makes so much sense to me about the vortex, and like I just learning this information, like learning about all realities happening
Mm-hmm.
simultaneously, and the past, the present, and the future happening simultaneously, and learning about all that, like it just aligned with my being like instantly. I don't know how to explain
Mm-hmm.
it, and I just like I don't know, like I just understand it, and
Mm-hmm.
like I see it, and I'm like, oh shit, and that's how I started to manifest. I mean, bro, the things like getting that offer to co-host
Isn't that
the
crazy?
number one show, the number one talk show right now, like, like, come on
It's
now, like
crazy,
I
bro.
manifested that, like
Hell yeah.
that's just that, and so quickly, like it's just so I'm living it, like I'm living proof, like Marshall says on the show, like you're gonna see live right in front of you, 0 to 7 figures, straight from law of vibration
Yeah.
manifestation. I mean, there's a lot to it, like healing transgenerational traumas,
Yep.
certain things like that. Writing letter for anybody watching this. Oh my gosh! If there's one thing you take away from this entire live, writing a letter, getting your emotions out, even if you throw it away, burn it.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I went on a Marshall's retreat back in November,
Yeah.
and like the biggest moments that I take away from that entire trip was, I mean, it was a whole journey. We had well, hell, I'll tell the story real quick. So the exercise, so to speak, that we did was we were doing an 8 mile hike, I believe. It ended up being about 6 miles. We did 3 miles out, 3 miles back at Joshua Tree,
Mm-hmm.
out near San Diego. And what we did was we wrote a letter, and we were basically like releasing limitations, releasing like whatever came to mind at the
Right.
time. Wrote a letter, put it in some ammo boxes, filled the ammo boxes up. I mean, these things were, I mean, they weren't super heavy, but they were heavy, like especially for a little guy like me. And there was 5 of us with 4 of those cans. Um, and then the exercise, I'm calling it an exercise, but the whatever you want to call it, we the idea was to ask for help when you needed it,
Right.
because there was one guy that wasn't carrying.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also learned along the way that you can well, I don't want to ruin it, but essentially we got to the end, we poured out all the weight, and then got to our letters, we did our ceremony and burned them. That was like the number one thing I took away from, as far as like life altering, because that was the first day I wrote a letter. And like and then I learned about the importance of pen to paper, and getting those emotions out. So like I know I went on a little tangent there, but if there's one thing you take away, write letters, get the anger out. I saw it on a King of Queens episode, I think, where she writes out a letter. She accidentally sends it, but essentially it's the same thing. Like you'll see it elsewhere now that we've talked about it, but like writing a letter, pen to paper, super important to release some
Yeah,
emotions.
Lindsay says burn it, man. I like it. I love it.
Burn
I
it,
love
baby,
it.
burn
Burn
it.
it. Burn it. I love it, dude. I love you telling that story, and I didn't go on that retreat, but I kind of knew about it. I remember Marshall talking about it a little bit, and I've got some other friends, or another friend who believes very much in like exactly what you're saying. Write whatever your shit is, write it down, right? And then something about burning it and letting it go, right? You know,
Right.
whatever.
It's because it's the you and I know energy can't be created nor
Right.
destroyed, so it's just
Right.
transferred. So you're taking you're taking all that negativity inside, well, not all of it, but at the time, whatever you're focused on,
Mm-hmm.
getting it out through, I mean, I can't explain it, 100% correctly, but like neurologically
Mm-hmm.
releasing, and just like physically releasing it from your body, and then burning it back into the universe for it to be transferred into good
Yeah,
energy,
I love it.
is essentially what
I
it
love
is.
it.
So
And when we're talking about energy, so it's interesting, right? When you're talking about the quantum realm, um, every cell in our body is like more than 99% energy. Isn't that weird? Like, I mean,
I,
if you're holding something in your hand, you're kind of like not holding it because all the electrons are spinning around. I mean, it's on a
yeah.
microscopic level. It's so weird because
Yeah,
everything's always
that's weird.
moving,
Yeah, that's
right?
weird to think about.
So I mean, everything's really just energy, right? And like I said, energy is never created or destroyed, right? So, and what we do is we attract. Okay, so a lot of times whether we're talking about relationships or jobs or money or where we want to live or circumstances, whatever it is, a lot of times we think about what we want, and a lot of times we're wanting to attract things that we want, but in reality we don't attract what we want, we attract what we are, right?
Right.
So if
Yep.
you want more money, you want a better job, you want better relationships, we've got to go inward. We got to do that inward work. I've heard people call it shadow work. You ever hear that term, shadow work?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. I have heard shadow
Right.
work. Yep.
So we got to go inward and do that shadow work and work on ourselves. And I know like Marshall said he took a lot, like maybe most of 2019 off, and he just kind of got by himself, right? And got quiet. Maybe Marshall, you can talk about this soon, or I've heard him talk about it, but just the idea that he spent a lot of time by himself, alone, kind of, I don't think he used the term shadow work, but it's just figuring out who you are and tying into yourself, right? And really that is doing the shadow work, right? Where
100%.
you go inside and you talk about healing that those past traumas, right? I mean, we all have different things, generational traumas, whether it's from relationships or things we went through when we were growing up or whatever it is. And Marshall says, changed my life after 35 years of pain and
Wow.
hurt, right? And basically taking the time to go within and understand that we can release that energy, right? And we can change that energy. And one of the, I guess there's different ways of doing it. I think you said you kind of do some meditation. Juggling is a little bit of a meditation to you, right? I mean, I guess there's different ways to
Yeah.
meditate, but I've been experimenting a lot with meditating, and it's not easy. It's super not easy. So
Not at all.
one thing that I've done, like for meditation, which has been more realistic or just what I actually do, is like I've been running. Like I'm a runner. I've been running forever, right? Off and on throughout the years. Here's one thing I do know about running and weight loss and all that kind of stuff. You can't outrun food. Okay, so running, if you want to lose weight, running's super cool, but if you go run 5 miles and then you go hit a bunch of fast food, it doesn't work, man. It doesn't work, right? So
See, it's funny you said that because a guy that I met, damn, I don't even remember where I was, but I know I met a guy at a gym that I usually am not at, and he was talking about how he ate like only Big Macs for a year to get where he was, and so it's like, so it's just like, so. But if you have any kind of like negative thoughts towards that, like it won't work. Like
totally agree.
You know what I mean? You have to have the full commitment to it. So you can't just be like, oh, I heard him, it worked for him, so I'm going to try it. And then so it's just I wanted to touch base on that because that was super important. And what I want to touch about generational, I don't know if I'm saying that right, transgenerational curses.
I think it is, man.
I think that's what it is. But so in Latin, mother means matter, and father means pattern.
Okay.
So mother meaning matter. So it's basically what I got from the explanation was, like they say, like when you touch your skin, you're touching your mother, your great grandmother, all the way back to your first mother. Right. So that's, I wanted to touch base on that because that's kind of how you can see how you could you're born with those traumas from. I mean, it could be 16, 17, 18, 20 generations ago. So it's like, so basically, that was one of the things that I learned that helped me understand that, and I just wanted to touch base on that.
I'm totally with you, man. I mean, so much of this stuff, there's different ways of looking at it, right? So like, I'm pretty big in the spiritual world. I'm in the church world, and I'm a Christian. I believe the Bible. But I don't think it's opposite, or I don't think it's contrary to the quantum field or any of this stuff. I think it's all the same stuff. We like, doesn't matter what you call gravity. If you drop a ball or you drop a bottle, the bottle is going to break, the ball is going to go down. You know about gravity from juggling, right? I mean, you drop the ball, it's going down. Doesn't matter what you call it, right? It's just like a natural law. It's just a principle, right? And so I think sometimes people fight against each other with thinking about, well, I can't, because I'm fill in the blank, right? Because I'm Christian, or because I'm this or that or the other, that I don't want to, right? I don't want to, get into that because, it doesn't line up. I'm okay with challenging everything. And if it's real, let's challenge it, right? I mean, I believe in God, but like, I'm a Christian, but I'm like, look, is God big enough to be real through all of it, right? I mean, if you're going to challenge it, I mean, God's not frail, right? And the things we're talking about, it's not frail, right? I mean, love is love, right? And when we're talking about frequency, and we're talking about low frequency, and we're talking about, I know we've discussed some like suicide, and we've all had some terrible experiences with suicide and things like that. I've lost way too many friends to that. But there's there's depression and sadness at the low end of frequency, and then we're talking about like that Christ expression, right? The love and the peace and the forgiveness and all that on the higher end. That's where the higher we get in our frequency, the closer, the more our life looks like love, right? The more we're gonna attract that, and we're gonna express love in our life, right? So again, we don't get what we want in life, we get what we are in life, right? So if we're not happy,
Exactly.
with where we are, we've got to think about what we need to do to change, right? Marshall says being like Christ is cool. Absolutely, right? And
It is the
it's the
coolest.
coolest. And there's so many different ways to express um, frequency. Sometimes people talk about good vibes or vibrations or all these different
Hmm.
things, but we
Which, sorry,
no,
I didn't mean to
go
cut
ahead,
you
keep
off,
going.
but a lot of this stuff just has negative programming
Yeah,
towards it. So people hear like law of attraction, they automatically have a view on it or an opinion on it based off of what we've been like programmed essentially. Like they don't. When I say they, I'm talking the deep state, the permanent government, whatever you. Some people don't believe in that. I personally believe in this.
mm-hmm.
Um, we're all conditioned and programmed to think a certain way. So people hear certain words, they hear the law of vibration, and automatically nope, or automatically that's woo woo, automatically I don't want to learn about that. It's like there's people out here living it every day, learning it, remembering it, whatever you want to say, completely changing their lives. Some people are changing them very
Yep.
quickly. Some people became the co-host of the number one
I
talk
love it.
show very quickly
Love it.
using the law of vibration, law of
Yep.
attraction, and stacking it with, like I said, healing the traumas.
Yep.
And I mean, at some point, I just wanted to spread vast and far, and because there's nothing I mean, there is something I can do, and I've been doing it. To change the world, you have to change yourself, like we've talked about it. That's what I've been doing. That's the only thing we can all be doing. Is I said it on one of the shows, I think it was yesterday. We can only be better than ourselves from the day before, and that should be, in my opinion, what everybody's
Yeah,
working on.
100%.
Be better than the you were before. Be a kind person, and I mean, it gets simple in my opinion, but I don't want to sound like I'm coming off like cocky or looking down upon people, because that's not it at all. But it is so simple. Like, be a good person, learn about meditation,
Yep.
learn about yoga, learn about epigenetics. Just learn, like, be open to learn about
Yep.
it. Be open to be a Christian, but explore the possibility that Buddha was also real. To also explore that ancient civilizations were moving big ass stones with some
Yeah.
kind of
Stonehenge. Yeah. Yeah.
like yeah,
Yeah.
like they were moving these things
Right.
unnaturally,
Right.
and just like be open to learn about all this stuff, and like your life can change so quickly, and it does change, and I'm living proof.
Yep.
And and there's multiple people just like me. This isn't a story about me, this is a story about you. Our good friend Marshall says that all the
Yep.
time, and I'm adapting that mindset. um, just like, yeah, that's what, and I'm here to, that's the only reason I'm doing these lives. Is not the only reason. This is practice for me. um, I'm still shit. I was nervous as hell before we got on here. It's getting easier.
Yeah.
So this is. But one of the main reasons being on here is to spread the love, to spread the knowledge, to spread the seeds, to plant seeds, and just hope that somebody. I actually, David already said, this live, like he's thankful for this live. He was meant to see this live like that. That is why we're doing
Yeah.
this. Like that, we just changed somebody's reality. We just completely changed that person's future. We're gonna, if people that are watching this on live right now, watching replay, like lives can be changed just from talking about
Yeah.
these things. Like people, people, the deep government, in my opinion, suppressing information like epigenetics, suppressing holistic healing, and all this powerful
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
meditation. They suppress that information from like we're not, you don't get taught that in America
Dude,
constantly about meditation and
I'm
all
gonna
that.
jump on that tangent. I'm gonna run with that for a minute about the deep government and stuff. We could do hours and hours of shows on conspiracy theories and shit. I love
Right,
it, but I got to plug what you just
right.
said, right, about epigenetics, and we know that we're not bound to our genes, but that our environment expresses our genes, right? So there's a book, and I haven't read. It's been ages ago that I read this book, but it's called "When Healing Becomes a Crime." Okay,
Mm.
so there's a guy, and it's been ages since I read it, right? So this might be a little bit rough, but there was a guy, a
Ooh.
cure for cancer, right? Accidentally comes up with a cure for cancer. Um, Basically, what happens? He has this horse, and he's got like a big ranch or something like that, and this horse has cancer, right? And it's got this big growth, and it was a family horse, and they had it for like a decade, and he just couldn't pull himself to shooting this horse, right? I mean, he loved his animal, and so he just puts it out in the back pasture just to let nature take its course and just quietly pass on, right? But the horse doesn't die, right? And eventually the cancer, the big huge tumor on this horse, it just begins to shrivel up and it falls off and it goes away, right? So he's like, what the
Mm.
heck? And so he just starts trying to do some research, figuring out what's going on. Um, and what he realizes is there's a plant in the back of this field that the horse is eating, which he ends up thinking it's just his hypothesis that the horse got healed from eating this plant, right? So he begins to experiment, uses different concoctions, uses it with friends and family, and people start getting healed, right, from eating green stuff, right? Just right. I mean, like not pharmaceuticals, no chemo, nothing like that, right? So, long story short, he ends up getting arrested. They throw him in prison for practicing medicine without a license because he's helping
Wow,
people heal cancer by eating plants, right?
wow.
So anyway, yeah, there are people. There are a lot of people in this world who do not want a cure for cancer. So I know Marshall's vegan. I think you've gone vegan. I've tried it. There's another. So let me plug that book again. I have nothing to do with that book other than it's called "When Healing Becomes a Crime." Fascinating,
Mm-hmm.
fascinating book, right? Um, but it's kind of talking about that. There's so much money in medicine, in
That
Western medicine, right?
that's why it makes sense that they don't let epigenetics get out,
Yes,
because it's not even a secret. Like, even most people believe, in my opinion and from my experience, that we are designed, and at least here in America, we're designed to be lifelong patients.
yes, yes, yes,
Like,
yes.
they didn't give me anxiety medicine when I was 14 to help cure my
Yep.
anxiety. They gave me that medication, um, specifically designed to keep me as a
Keep you on it
patient.
forever.
And thankfully, through holistic ways, holistic
Yep.
medicines, as my good buddy, my brother from another mother, Marshall, likes to say,
Yep.
taking our
Yep.
vitamins, natural things like that. I'm actually going to get into microdosing here
Mm-hmm.
soon, with psilocybin, and I mean, we could talk about that on a different day too. Is just like the benefits and the natural healing powers of natural plants
Yep.
and fungi that they have illegal and stuff like all this, to me, just pieces together to a controlled
Yep.
narrative. Like, they don't, you know what I mean? Like,
Totally,
that's just
man.
for the,
Totally.
and it is what it is. That's just what I
Bro,
believe.
so look, listen, check this out. There's no money in healthy people. There's no money in dead people.
No.
All the money is right there in the middle. You got to keep people, like, the medical industry loves, and I hate to say it, right, but they're getting rich off of cancer. They're getting rich off of diabetes, whether it's type 1 or type 2.
Hmm.
Type 2, and why does so many people have type 2 diabetes? Because they're eating all the shit out of bags and
The food,
boxes at the grocery store,
processed
right?
sugar,
Processed
yeah,
sugar and all this. So
preservatives.
so the food companies are feeding the medical industry, and they're scratching each other's back. They're in bed together, right? Food companies are getting rich off of making people fat, and unhealthy, giving them diabetes, giving them cancer. And then the medical industry is getting rich off of treating this bullshit that people picked up from eating this terrible, or expressing their genes in a terrible way, right? Going back to epigenetics.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy,
Along with epigenetics, the programming that comes from all the shows and commercials and the propaganda, I mean, none of that shit leads you to I mean, I see McDonald's commercials. I don't see commercials for the vegan foods, and well, of course I don't watch TV anymore, so I guess I can't really speak on that. But at the time I didn't. So yeah, it's just like that's hitting it from three different ways. It's like you're essentially trapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just, I mean, you're shit out of luck from the beginning.
Hey, that's what we're here for. We're here to turn the key, open
exactly.
the door.
That's what I was just about to say.
I mean, that's what the hell we're doing.
That
here,
is
right?
exactly what Kevin Hart was just saying the other day on Joe Rogan's podcast. He said it's the people that like make it out, so to speak. He was talking about coming from like poor neighborhoods and everything, and so I can't relate to that. But coming from the hood, he was talking about, and then it's like you're supposed to reach back and help the people behind you like learn how to get out of that. So it's the same with this. Yep. It's like, dude, I used to, bro, let me tell you this. Type 1 diabetic, food is like literally what I have to watch the most. Right. And at one point I'd given up. Dude, I ate fast food every day, more than once a day for a year and a half. Straight freaking mid-20s bachelor style, like never cooking, like, you know what I mean, just disgusted. But you don't know what you don't know. Luckily I came across Marshall, which I knew, I mean, dude, I knew what I was doing. Like, I knew I was self-sabotaging. I knew I wasn't supposed to be eating that garbage. But it's like, you just don't know what you don't know. And then I came across new information and was like, oh shit. And then like, then you learn about then going down the rabbit hole, you learn about all the stuff that is put in the food or on the food. It's like, wow. So, and that's why, dude, my mom's got her own garden going right now. So I'll be able to get some like fresh veggies that I know, you know what I mean? I know they're still not 100% perfect and there's still possibly stuff, whatever, whatever, but I choose to not give my attention to that. I choose to give my attention to everything. Even when I do eat meat, which I am mostly vegan, but like I said, last couple of weeks I have dabbled in some meat again. I'm going back towards my plant-based, getting my structure back, getting that discipline back. It's just that's what time it is. Right. And but yeah, even when I eat that, you know, I pray, I bless the food. It's like my attention. I change the energy, which is a form of telekinesis, in my opinion. Not in my opinion, that's just a fact of what telekinesis is. Right. It's not necessarily just objects floating. It's like changing matter with your mind. And the food that I eat, all the food that I eat is blessed. All the food that I eat was God put here in perfect divine timing to give me fuel, to transfer that energy into fuel for me to go do good in the world. Right. So that's the mindset I adopted.
As you're saying that, Marshall's fucking with you, said, back on the swine.
That's funny because that's an inside joke from when we were at the retreat, that the swine, we were talking about bacon and all that while we were over at the retreat. That's funny. I actually, wow, it's funny. Pork is the one thing, like if you're going to eat meat, like I learned or remembered that pork was like the worst of the worst. So I usually stay away, but it's funny you said that because this past weekend I was like, it's Memorial Day weekend, celebrating, and plus it was my mom's birthday, and I ended up getting a filet mignon with bacon wrapped around it, and I never eat bacon. Well, I seldom do I eat bacon, and so it's funny that he mentioned that.
Right.
See, he even said I eat meat, but I don't fuck with pork. Yeah, so I'm gonna cycle meat into my rotation, but I just don't like, dude, from eating meat every single meal to to hardly ever eating it. I can tell the big difference, but I still believe that it's important to get meat in there at some point.
Right.
Just better to get I feel like natural hunted game that doesn't have the stress hormones released in it when it's killed. Right. Things like this, which I learned from Marshall also, which I don't mean to keep bringing him up, but fuck, he seemed to be the one that led me down all that.
He's the dude, man.
He gets the credit. Yeah, he's the dude. It is what it is. So yeah, I forget where I was going with that, but
Yeah, you're talking.
talking about
Yeah,
the meat.
yeah, yeah,
Talking about the
yeah.
meat. Yeah, just I am gonna to implement it, but yeah, I would say stay away from pork and then red meat. Like try to limit if you're gonna eat
Mm-hmm.
meat. I mean, just from my personal experience, I suggest like cutting out red meat and pork would be a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
start
Mm-hmm.
on the journey to feeling
Yeah, yeah.
better.
So
So,
let me jump in a little bit there because
oh,
I've been. What's that?
before you jump into that, I do want to just point out, Marshall says it's not me, it's
Yeah.
God, and let's give props to God. That's it, and it's funny, not funny. It's perfect timing that he mentioned that because he just made helped me remember that when I was in the mud, when I was at my
Mm-hmm.
lowest, when I was super depressed, about to end my life, I promised God
Mm,
that um, anywhere I go from that point on, all the state when I'm accepting awards, when I'm writing big checks for charities, or whatever I'm
mm-hmm.
doing, I will always give my grace to God and give Him His glory, essentially. And that's coming from a not that I have to point it out, but I'm not like
Right.
religious, if you want to put a
Yeah, yeah,
label on
yeah,
it or
yeah,
whatever.
for
I'm
sure.
I'm simply just living, and but yeah, I did want to just mention that before we jump into the next segment. So
Yeah,
thank you, Marshall.
yeah, no doubt about it, man. So Lindsay says she has been staying away from meat, and she feels amazing. So I have done the vegan thing, right? I've done it for health reasons, right? My daughter is actually vegan, but she does it because we said we'd come back to talking about like the souls of the animals and things like that. So
Right.
some people are vegan because of that, right? Like from
Yeah,
a different
it's not. It
standpoint.
has nothing to do with health reasons,
Right,
so to
right,
speak. They get into that realm
right.
because of animal cruelty, so to
Yeah, yeah,
speak.
yeah.
Yes.
So right, so there's a lot of people who are into it that way, right? So I always pretty much did it from the health standpoint of it. But one thing I think if you're looking for a collective narrative with all of this is whether you're talking about someone who's vegan or vegetarian or they're keto or whatever anybody's on, everyone can agree there are things that you can do and cut out that's going to make you feel better. Whether you eat meat or not, cool. Either way, maybe it's better if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
or you. But there's one thing everyone agrees on: eat vegetables, right?
Right.
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 Everyone can
Eat some damn. Eat some damn living
eat some
food,
living food, man.
please.
Eat some green stuff, you know. So I mean, at one point I've tried. I think a lot of people try and get real um, strict about like I'm on this diet and I got to eat this and I can't eat that and whatnot. But if all you did, if you just want to feel better, just start adding vegetables, adding green stuff into your diet. Now, if you want to limit meat or cut out meat, maybe that's something you can consider also. But if all you do is just start
Mm-hmm.
adding living food into your diet, now I also do
Right.
like I find it helps me a lot to do intermittent fasting, right? So I don't eat in the morning. I'll maybe eat in the afternoon, but typically you said you do like one meal a day. I've done that. I've been experimenting with two meals, so I have maybe like a 6 hour window or something like that.
It's funny you said that because I did switch. I mean, right before I went on my little 2 week cheat, I had converted to doing the 4 to 6 hour
Mm-hmm,
range,
mm-hmm.
simply because I was noticing with diabetes, and noticing my numbers, studying my numbers, that it that my numbers fluctuate when I go way too long.
Right,
If I
right,
when I go the 23 hours or
right,
24 hours
right.
before I eat again. So I've been trying because at first I was doing it, learning about the cellular makeup and what fasting does
Yep.
at the cellular level and rejuvenating and I learned about fast mimicking diet. They actually healed type 1 diabetes in rats through what's called a fast mimicking
Mm-hmm.
diet, and I forget all the details with that, but if somebody's interested in looking
Yep.
that up, I know I came across that, but I noticed that. So I just noticed personally for my body, I needed to switch it up. So I am also going to go back to not. I mentioned earlier I was going to do OMAD again, but I'm I am shifting towards breaking it up and doing either 2 meals like you said or 4 to 6
Yeah.
hours.
So it's extremely interesting to me, like the idea of the diet. We're talking. We kind of got into diet and talking about vegetables, and it's so much more important for us to eat vegetables and all that stuff. But we're not talking about fasting or intermittent fasting. But the research, like when I started reading the research on fasting, I was floored at how people heal themselves of all kinds of ailments, right? Because most people are eating garbage. Even if you're eating healthy, it's so good for your body to rejuvenate itself through fasting, right? There's
Yep.
some people who fast 24 hours a week, or sometimes, there's some people I know fast a week a month, or whatever it is, or a week a year, or something like that. But there's so many restorative health benefits from fasting, right? So that's something we could talk about another show, another day, another time. We could talk about fasting all day long. But I just always, I like anybody else. I think I probably like to eat. You said you're a foodie and like to eat fast food.
Yeah.
I like fast food as much as anybody, right? And I'm not gonna pretend like I don't sometimes eat fast food. I like it, but I don't feel good from it. You know what I mean?
Oh no, yeah, and now, especially now with my mindset,
Mm-hmm.
when I went like plant-based
Mm-hmm.
and was strict with my diet, real discipline for 5 to 6 months, like as soon as I broke that and tried to like have a cheat like that, oh my gosh, bro, it would have felt like, I mean, the best way I could put it was like I was like a hangover would feel
Right.
for somebody that just drank a shit ton of alcohol
Right.
the night before.
Right.
Like my body was like, bro, what in the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that like you can, I mean, I can, and that is what helped me realize exactly how much, I mean, I know my body had gotten used to a certain way, but it just showed me how much shit is actually in it. Like, God bless,
Right.
I feel
Yeah.
like complete shit.
And so
So,
one other thing I want to point out in relation to food is we can talk, and I don't want to get too much on a tangent for people who are watching here and trying to figure out either weight loss or trying to improve their health. Because let's be honest, like 80% of Americans are like in terrible shape, right? In terrible health, not just shape, just in terrible health,
yeah,
right?
not shape,
Just,
just, yeah,
one
internally.
of my best
Mm.
friends is also a runner, Larry Romero. Larry Romero, if you're watching, what's up, bro? We coached football together, taught history together for years. Great guy. Um, but I don't know, 10 years, 12 years ago. And he was a runner. He's like marathon runner. Now he's an Ironman, guy.
Mm.
He had a heart attack, dude. He called me we were teaching school back then. And he called me one summer morning. It's like, bro, I'm in the hospital. I'm like, dude, stop fucking with me. We're like, he's skinny, and he runs marathons. Like, you didn't have a heart attack, bro. What's wrong with you? But because he could eat anything he wanted, he would just tell you, right? He would just tell you. He was like, he would like eat pepperonis like out of a bag just for snacks all the time. He just ate terrible. He said, like, I don't eat anything healthy at all, ever, right? And he had a heart attack, right? So he looked healthy because he was skinny and he was fit and he could run, but his insides, his arteries weren't. Dr. Pritchard, my cousin, just jumped on. What's up, cousin Katie? um, so
Yeah, that's, I personally, there's detox teas you can get to help with that. Like, just, I mean, there's things you can do to be helping your body. Like, even if you want to eat
mm-hmm.
if you want to eat fast food every day, at least include like a detox
Right.
tea, include some vegetable, like it just start including, like, I'm not trying to preach to anybody.
Preach, brother.
I
Preach.
know,
Bring it.
I just know from personal experience, like just being on both sides of it,
Mm-hmm. So
like,
So one
go ahead.
big thing is, like, we can talk all day about the importance of fasting and not eating processed food, or get rid of McDonald's, or eat your vegetables and all that stuff's super important. But this journey for me, and how I got into the whole quantum realm, starting probably a couple of years ago, was that we try to do it like Dispenza says, Dr. Dispenza, we try and change matter with matter. We try and say, what should I eat? What should I do? How much should I exercise to achieve X result, right? And that's trying to change matter with matter. But what I learned is, when we go
Mm-hmm.
inside and we begin to visualize, we tap into that quantum realm, and we begin to visualize that perfect image of who we are, right? So what I had to do was, it because I taught, like, I taught history for a bunch of years, but I also taught health. I'm certified in history and certified in health. I coached football, all that stuff. So I know all of the nuts and bolts of what healthy living is supposed to be, right? Which, by the way, the
Right.
health curriculum in public schools is way off. We'll talk about that some other time. Anyway, I
You
went,
don't say
I,
it's. Are you kidding me? The textbooks that they have in the school system might not be telling us what we need to
yeah, I
know.
know,
Oh,
it's
okay.
astounding.
Maybe we should talk
It's
about that a
it's
different day.
astounding. Um, okay, so yeah, we'll talk about that. We're gonna come back on. We're gonna talk about all that. But here's the thing: we can go nuts and bolts and say, like, this is what ABC. So I've had a lot of people that are like, dude, yo, you lost 40 pounds. What did you do? Tell me what you. I've had so many people reach out to me. What did you do? And I hate to even tell people like, well, it's just intermittent fasting and cutting out fast food and cutting out processed food and eating more vegetables. I mean, that's what I did. But in reality, I learned to meditate and go into the quantum realm.
Oh, start with that first next
Yes,
time.
and I
But it's
right, and I wanted to, and what I had to do was begin to understand what is the best expression of Jake Perez look like. And it's not just I want to weigh X number of pounds or look a certain way when I get in the mirror. That's not what it's about. It's about what is the Jake Perez that looks perfectly, right? Because in the quantum realm, all possibilities exist. So if I figure out what I look like perfectly in my mind that I'd want to look like, it's not just how do I get there. It's not like winning the lottery, having the lottery numbers that gets me there. It's what do I need to do? What kind of person do I have to be every day to express myself in the most optimum form? That's what it's all about for me.
right.
That's what it's all about for me.
Point blank period. What I learned slash remember, it's not do have be. It's not what do I have to do to have this, to be this type of person. It's what type of person do I have to be to have, or to be able to do that, and however that goes. I'm tongue twisting
You
myself, but
good,
yes,
brother.
it's
You need some
be
more
how
you
I
need
was
some
saying
more
earlier.
vitamins, bro.
I actually do. See, I'm used to having a break right in the middle of these
I
talks
didn't
and
give you
having
the
having a
3 minute
vitamin
Marshall
break.
break. I didn't think we were gonna go this long,
Oh
but
no, hey, but hey, it's what time is it right now? Let's if you it's 9:23. I got a little more
yeah,
time
I
if
can
you're
keep
down.
going.
I'm
I'm
enjoying
not
the
in a hurry, man. I
conversation.
can keep
Yeah,
going.
let's yeah, let's see what else what else we got to talk
Well,
about. Let's see.
so that was it for me, right? Was just talking about what is that perfect expression? Like once you begin to understand the quantum realm and the quantum field, and that all possibilities exist there. So whatever I want the perfect Jake Perez to be exists there, right? And so Dr. Dispenza teaches that the more that we take our energy off of thinking about the past, worrying about past relationships or failed business endeavors or whatever we might have dealt with as children, and we stop worrying about the future and we stop worrying about, you know, all the different, paying bills and, all the different things, and we focus our attention into the present. And when we do
Mhm.
that, we begin to gather all of our energy, and when we gather all of that energy, we can get into that quantum realm, and then just we begin to change. We begin from the inside out. That's the proper way to do
Yeah,
it. Everyone
that seems to be the theme
everyone is trying to
for
change
tonight.
from the outside in, but the only way to really do it is we got to change from the inside out. And so
Point blank period.
I'm learning how to do that through meditation. Now, I said I ran for years. For me, running was like a meditation, right? And there are monks. I don't know. There's a book about some running monks somewhere. I have to look it up somewhere. But these monks, they're Buddhist monks, and they would run like a marathon every day around a mountain, right? And they would use running
Hmm.
as a meditation, right? So I guess there's a lot of
Yeah.
different ways to meditate. I don't know, but
Yeah, no, that's just, I mean, when you're running, you're in the present moment. So
right,
that's why juggling helps for me. It's like I can't be anywhere else while I'm juggling. I
right.
have to be right, and you see it in my videos. If anybody watching has seen me on one of my juggling lives,
Mm-hmm.
is like as soon as I think of something, I'll drop it and I'll be like, I gotta stop thinking about, because I'll think about, and that's the practice of meditation and coming back to the present moment. It's
Yep.
like even when I'm not doing juggling and I'm doing like a normal meditation,
Mm-hmm.
like a guided meditation from maybe Joe Dispenza
Right.
or anybody else on YouTube
Mm-hmm.
is like you're focused on the present moment, you're focused on what they're telling you to do, and then you'll notice your thoughts go away. Like Lindsay said earlier in the comments, she said for meditation sometimes it looks like squirrel,
Yeah,
and
no
it's like
doubt.
that is what it
Right.
is. It's like you go off and you're like, oh wait, be aware of it. Don't judge. The second important fact, equally as important, don't judge the fact that you are thinking about other
Right.
things and aren't doing very well. Don't judge yourself if you're going to run and you thought the whole
Right.
time. Like that's adding negativity and adding, like, that's gonna use the law of vibration, law of attraction in the
Yep.
opposite way that you want it to. Is like the vibration thing and the law of attraction, like you can jump in and out of it very quickly. Like if you give it that negative thought for that second, bam,
Mm-hmm.
you went. And it's much easier to go that way than it is for the positive side.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I just want to emphasize, don't judge yourself for going off, but that essentially is the basics of meditation, is to into that present moment, to, like I said earlier, use the memories to help analyze. Away from me.
Hey, you there?
Oh, hey, what's up?
You still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Cool. Yeah. I just went to put a light on. So we disconnected, but we're back. Okay, cool. Yeah, dude, you're talking about meditation and how important that is in staying present. We're talking about tonight changing your life from the inside out, not the outside in. Dr. Dispenza talks about not
He
changing
talks about
matter.
neuron. Sorry, yes. Go finish that sentence
No, go
so we
ahead.
can reiterate.
Yeah, just not
Um,
changing matter with matter, but going in and changing it in the quantum field.
right. He talks about what helped me understand it is one of the videos he was explaining how neurons fire with other neurons in certain events, and that's how you get stuck with like constantly eating the fast food and
Yep.
constantly having the same habits and getting stuck in
Right.
the the routine of like whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
You have neurons firing with other neurons, like, so when certain events happen you think and act the same.
Yep.
And that is what meditation helps. Helps you realize, like, for instance, one of the things I've noticed, and it's helped me kind of gauge in how I'm the doing the shadow work, so
Right.
to
Right.
speak, is helping, is like when I'm driving and somebody like cuts me
Mm-hmm.
off, or it's road rage specific
Yeah.
stuff. Like I've noticed, especially over the last 6 months of doing this work, is like you'll go to get
Mm-hmm.
angry, and like, well, in the past I would get super angry and be like, you dumb, you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean, do
Yeah.
whatever I'm
Yeah.
saying, get really angry. Now I am barely even giving myself a half a second to get mad, and I'm
Yep.
like, oh wait, and then I'm like, you don't know, you've cut people off before, you've done much worse
Yep.
before, you don't know what that person's going, like, saying those things to myself like instantly to help to change that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I'm literally picturing my neurons firing with different
Mm-hmm.
neurons and altering it.
Yeah. It's breaking the habit of being yourself, dude. You know, right? Right. That's what it is. That's the one that spins his books, right? Um,
Yeah.
we, we were talking earlier in the show about 90%, 95% of what we do, we just do habitually every day, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
we become attached to those habits. We become attached, even bad habits, right? I mean, uh, um, we get in bad relationships sometimes, and we just stay in them because it's the habit, right? We And so
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I've learned to do in the recent months of my life is just to observe or to reflect on what my habits are every day, and do my habits serve me. I'm a huge believer in just cutting shit out of your life, right? Figure out what is your goal, what is your um, you what is your what is your overarching why of life, right? I mean, you got to figure out what you want in life, and then everything that does not align with your goals and your values, you got to cut it out, man.
Literally,
Like
yes,
you got to get rid
because
of it.
especially once you learn about, so another thing that's helped me realize with that is like where I spend my time.
Yeah.
Like going, like I don't enjoy going out
Mm-hmm.
to like on a Friday
Right.
night and being around, like especially because I never got into the drinking anyway.
Right.
Um, but essentially, is like you have to. Well, what I was going to say was I learned about. I think it was Thomas Fleet who came up with the invention to where you can take a picture of a human and the body is not
Mm-hmm.
there. The aura, the light that they give off is what shows. And with his
Yeah.
invention,
Yep. Yep.
I think it
Yep.
was
Yep.
Thomas Fleet,
Yep.
and I learned about that, and I was like, oh shit! And then I learned about how your energy or your aura is 6 to 12 projects 6 to 12 feet out
Yep.
from your actual being. So I learned all that, and I was like, oh snap! No wonder like I can't go to those places and know that I have all that like you don't know what kind of there's all kinds of energies flowing around and chaotic, and it's like you have to train for that. Like me personally, like I have to train myself to be
Mm-hmm.
around that kind of energy, which
Yeah.
is why I still do the work and seek help and seek mentors. Like
Right.
that's like I just that's from my personal experience how I look at it. So you have to be aware, like the people you talk to at work,
Yep.
the people you hang out with, like you have to be aware of like what kind of vibe they're on, because it's affecting you whether you know it or not.
Yeah, dude,
Like,
and in relationships too, right? Like you're so right. Like there are places where you walk in. You know, I've walked in. You know, I've probably been in a lot more bars than you in my life. Okay, but you know, there's some bars you walk into and you just get a certain vibe. You can feel it, right? And
mm,
you're like, oh,
right,
you can just feel it.
like an old biker bar,
Yeah, yeah, like you
yeah,
just feel it, right?
has a certain
And it
feel,
doesn't even have
yeah.
to be a bar. There's certain places you just walk in and the vibe's just bad, and you can feel it. You know, I mean, there's an expression. You know, I like to say like your vibe determines your tribe, right? Because law of
Your
attraction.
vibe attracts your tribe. I've heard
That's how
that.
we hooked up, right? I mean,
100% how we
like
hooked up.
Marshall's putting out.
Being a part of the Gilling
Yeah,
gang.
Marshall's putting out this huge, you know, high vibe of love and peace, and we want to like change the world together, right? Just starting with ourselves, right? So we get attracted to that vibe, and we just all get attracted, right, to one another. But here's something else that's very interesting. You got to be real careful who you associate with. That's what you're saying, because we actually, and I believe there's some studies about this, but we actually begin to vibrate in relation to the people that we're around, right?
Yeah, I haven't read a study about that, but that, I mean, that makes perfect sense
Right.
to me
So
when you say that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, I know I've read it. I don't have the studies off the top of my head, but I know that we begin to vibe like like literally our vibration will begin to sync with the people who are around us. Right?
That's yeah, that's and that is what it
Hey,
is. They talk about like your network is your net
yeah.
worth. Like that's literally saying the same thing in a different way, and it's like that. Yeah, that just aligns
That's
so
like
well
worth
with
the
me.
price of
Like
admission
it,
right there, right? Like
that alone. That's
like
funny.
whoever you want to be like get around them, vibe with them, right? Get in sync with that.
With 100%,
Yeah.
which is that's what I've been doing, and that's what began. That's actually what I would credit to continuing to keep me on the right path is surrounding myself with people on those vibes.
Yep. So hey, I'm just telling anyone who might be out there, I'm hanging out with Kyle, my buddy, Kyle Dillinger, the co-host of the Marshall Gillen Show,
Let's go.
live every morning at 9 o'clock on Facebook. Check it out. Um,
9 to 11
9/11
Central.
Central, Marshall Gillen Show. I'm hanging out with the co-host of that show here tonight. We're just talking about.
And you'll be coming on one day, I'm
I'll be
sure.
on. I'll definitely be on. You know, I'll be checking y'all out in the morning,
Definitely.
and I'll jump on the show together. But we're just talking here tonight about optimal living, right? I mean, just
Essentially,
not
yeah.
just being, you know, just buying into the system that you know the system kind of says we're just bound and to this way of living, right? And
It's almost like they try to lay out your narrative for you,
yeah, yeah,
like in different like you can call them stereotypes, whatever. But it seems like everybody is supposed to have the same layout. Like if you come from a certain area, it's meant to be like that for you. Like it has to be like that for you. Like oh, you if you grew up without a certain parent, like there's a narrative for that.
yeah,
If you grew up in a household that there was a divorce, there's a narrative for
Right.
that. If you have a mental illness, there's a narrative for that. Like there's so many, like if everybody would just stop worrying about what the fuck everybody else was doing
Yep.
and worry about what the hell you have going on in between your two ears, that alone,
That's it.
the world becomes
Yeah.
better
That's
overnight.
it. That's it, dude.
So, and I don't mean to say it like in that tone or that way, but essentially that is what it
Yeah.
is. It's like I touch back on the Kevin Hart thing again on when he was on Joe Rogan's podcast. He was talking about how do you, well, first of all, how do you not want to be healthy and be better?
Right.
But more importantly, he was talking about how do you, like, we're here to contribute to the generations that are coming behind us. If you're not doing anything to contribute to help change the world,
Right.
which again starts with
Right.
yourself, like what are you even
Right.
doing? And that's the mindset I'm
Yeah.
taking now. It's like if you're not at least, like, I don't care what you're doing at this current moment, as long as you have plans or admirations or like a layout or some kind of
Right.
goal to get somewhere or to have plans to change like yourself and change the world
Right.
and some not change the world. I know that sounds so
I mean,
cliche, but
it
just
is
like
cliche.
to help
It
you.
is cliche, but I mean that's kind of why we are all vibing together, right? I mean we're all interested in optimal living for ourselves, but we all like everything in the whole Gillen gang. Everything we're talking about is the idea that not only do we want to be the best individuals that we can be, but we also want to bring that message to the world, right? We want to help end, no, not end, but reduce and help people who are struggling with suicide, people who are struggling with cancer,
Right.
people who are struggling with depression, people who are struggling, well,
Disease in
all
general.
kinds of things that people are dealing with. So I'm saying it right here, right now. Like I'm going all in, and I'm devoting my life to helping people transform their lives. That's what I want to do. That's what I feel called to do.
Let's fucking go, bro. Let's go right here. Breaking news. This didn't happen on the Marshall Galen show, but it's just as good. Jake is stepping in and living into his new reality.
That's my new reality, man. That's what I do.
And
That's why I was put on this planet to help.
and you already do it every
Yeah.
day. You're already doing it right now. We're doing it right now. But yeah, I see what you mean. Like this, it's go
Yeah.
time.
Well, this is a declaration for me right now. I was put on this planet to help people transform their lives. That's it. Most people fucking hate
Point
their
blank period.
lives. Most people like think about jumping off the bridge every damn day because they don't want to go to that job anymore, or that.
Or they don't know that yet, but they're not happy.
Right.
They just don't
They
know
don't know
what they
why.
like.
They're
Yeah,
just
they don't
plodding
know.
through.
Yeah.
They're existing. They're breathing. Their heart's beating, but they're not living. Right. And so I want to take those who are hungry and who want to change. And so yeah, I posted the other day about losing weight, but it's not about that. It's not
Right.
cool, like I lost some weight and now my whatever.
But you can use that as
Yeah, it's not
your
right. It's
motivation
not
and
about that. It's about changing yourself from the inside out, right? Transforming your life so that you can have that optimal life that you deserve to have, right? That you deserve. That we weren't put on the earth for our life to just suck and just pay bills and just muddle
no,
around.
no. You know what I believe in that they say God created heaven and
Mm-hmm.
earth in 6
Right.
days. Who decided that that's two separate places? Because to me, I heard that and I instantly thought, oh, heaven and earth, heaven and
Mm-hmm.
earth. This is
Right.
heaven. Like this is it. Why do people think it gets better than
Right.
this? Like, look at, well, I know for me personally, I was in a certain narrative and a certain mindset. I was vibrating very low for very many
Mm-hmm.
years, and I created hell for
Mm-hmm.
myself because if you believe in heaven, you believe in
Mm-hmm.
hell. So that's why I personally believe we have hell on earth and heaven on earth, and that's where the demons and the angels come into play. And that's just where I'm at.
I'm with you, brother. One thing we didn't talk about, and I want to plug you real quick here, because I'm saying I already plugged myself. I am dedicating myself to being a transformational life coach. That's what I'm going to do. I want to transform people's lives using the shit that we talked about tonight, because that's just my passion, right?
Bro,
And
let's
I feel
go.
like we might continue on that path together. I mean, I feel like me, you, Marshall, the Gilligan, we might be putting on retreats together, right? Like
Right.
bringing
Yeah.
people out and just radically helping them give them the tools and the skills that they need to just totally throw off their old ways and transform their life, right? So that's where I want to go, right? That's where we're heading. I think we're going to keep vibing on that. But you do something else other than this cool shit we're talking about, right? I want to talk about that
I
before we jump
do.
off. What do you
I
do with your
do.
days, man? Go ahead.
I've been in real estate investing for 2 years. Well, 2 years and some change now. 2018 in March was when our LLC was formed. I have a few partners that I'm working with. We don't have any deals yet necessarily, but I have a couple partners that are working on stuff out of state. But my main gig in real estate investing is with my parents, my dad, my stepmom, and yeah, bro, we're actually. I'm glad you brought this up because we are transitioning and revamping our business like as we speak. Not that, I mean, we've been profitable. It's been amazing. We've had our ups and downs, and there's nothing wrong with the business. We just want to simply delegate and automate, which is a Facebook group that and a digital meetup that my dad and I are going to be running to help people. Essentially, our mission is to help 100 families create financial and time freedom so that they can focus on their true purpose and their passions in life.
I love it, dude.
So,
I love it.
As we move into the delegate and automate of our own business, how I talked about earlier about reaching behind and helping people, like we're going to be living it and then turning around and teaching it, like as we do it, like weeks apart. And that's what we got going on. So we have, like I said, been profitable. I'm not going to go into specifics, but we own 9 rental units. We've done a few fix and flips. We've done a couple wholesale deals. We've bought land from a forfeited land sale. We've attended things and tons of networking events and boot camps, and we have a lot of knowledge, and we have quite a few experiences, not as much as a lot of investors, but quite a few experiences, and we're ready to help, bro.
It's awesome, dude.
And that's something we're also stepping into. So that's what we got going on. If anybody is interested, the meetup, I mean, we're going to be laying out what you would need to get started in real estate investing, and we're going to be, I mean, like Marshall talked about earlier on the show with me, the information's out there. We're not selling you information. We're selling you time and structure. We're selling you our experiences. Not even selling, honestly, with our program that we have coming out in the future. We're just simply trying to guide. But we're going to be going over. You're not going to have to pay for anything to learn it all. We're going over it in the digital meetup, following in my brother Marshall's footsteps. I'm giving out the information for free. If people feel like they need structure or more guidance, then there'll be an opportunity to go further along with us. But that's essentially the gist of it.
So we've been talking a lot about changing your life, you know, and living optimally and all that kind of stuff. And I think what you're doing ties into that, right? Like people got to have money to live. We're not going to just go out and live in the middle of the woods and eat berries. I mean, you know, most people don't want to do that, right? So you got to have money to live. And what you're talking about is giving people an opportunity to learn how to become financially free so that you can focus on the things that really do matter in your life. Is that right?
100%. Yep. And then we're actually going to be throwing in, because Marshall helped me earlier reflect on freedom, like we talked about today. It starts internally. So it actually helps me realize we're going to start off with freedom inside. We'll touch on it. I don't want to spend too much time, because most people just, I mean, let's be honest, they want to learn how to get the freedom, the time freedom, and the financial freedom is what most people seem to be interested in. But I do want to make sure that people will understand, like, look, once we get you delegated and automated and you have more time, like, this work is important. And that's, I want to emphasize that. So yeah, that's essentially what it is. It'll be 3 forms of freedom. And like I said, we'll be giving all the info away in the digital meetup. So please make sure you reach out and get the link to the group from me.
I will. My battery's about dying. That's why I was looking for a charger. But, but anyway, I didn't think we were going to be on nearly this long. So listen, we're talking about changing your life. We're talking about freedom. I got my boy Kyle on here, who is willing to teach people how to get financial freedom through real estate investing. He's doing it for free. Like people charge thousands and thousands of dollars to teach this stuff. But look up Kyle Dillinger. What's the easiest way for them to contact you, brother?
Right now, it's going to be on Facebook Messenger or on Instagram at Kyle Dillinger 3.
Okay.
I'll get the message and I'll respond. I am going to be working on getting a number that people will be able to reach out because I'm not. I'll be fully honest. I'm not the best at like getting back quickly on social media outlets because from where I'm at on my journey right now, like just Facebook, it drains me a little bit. So I try not to stay on too long.
I'm with you.
All right, but reach
yeah,
out and I'll definitely get back.
We're talking about freedom in your life. We're talking about changing your life, and some of that's financial freedom, right? Some of that's just having the ability to have the finances you need so you can focus on the important things in life. So Kyle,
right, so that you're not letting the stress.
Yes. Message him, and take advantage of this opportunity to learn this free way to invest in real estate. So listen, man, before my battery goes, I want to jump off here. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say the only thing that I ask for is your time commitment to show up to the meetups and learn the information. That's all we're asking.
That's awesome, brother. Listen, man, it was awesome hanging out with you tonight. We got to do it again. I'm gonna check.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to hop on again and talk.
I'm hanging out with the co-host of the Marshall Gillen Show in the morning. There. It's been fun, man. Talking about quantum physics and life transformation. Fun, we're gonna have to jump on again. Talk. We got all kinds of things to talk about, man. We can talk more about fasting. We can talk more about real estate investing. More about.
Maybe next time we just we dive deep into the ancient civilizations and some aliens. I've been wanting to talk about that.
Dude, I can't wait to talk about aliens with you, man. I love it. So
yeah, let's go. Right, maybe we'll have you on and we'll talk to you. I'll talk with Marshall. Maybe we'll have you on, and that's what we'll talk about for a minute while you hop on the show one day.
All right, look. Before my battery blinks out, I'm gonna jump off. But it was cool hanging out with you, man. We'll do it again real soon, okay? And I'm gonna check you guys out in the morning. I'll see you in the morning. All right,
thank you. Love you, brother.
You too,
see you later.